Welcome back to the Heart of the Bear Factory. This is Positive Impact, the show that talks about making plushies with a purpose. My name is Rob Johnson, and joining me again is Jimmy Banish. He's the Chief Operating Officer of the Bear Factory, and Mike Anderson, the VP of Business Development. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Hey, here we are.
So today we're going to talk about experiential retail, which I think is a more and more important vertical as I'm going to say the age of the internet, which dates me, but as the internet, online shopping, convenience, shipping, all of those things play a bigger part in our lives. Experiential retail is going to become a more and more important vertical. So when you think about experiential retail, Jimmy, and as it relates to the Bear Factory, what's the first thing that comes up for you?
I know we were just talking off camera a little bit, but now that you bring it up, what actually just popped into my head was how against I was coming over to the Bear Factory when I was in my 20s. Because Jerry, always, it was kind of known that Kia was going to come over, and I really fought to come over because I kind of wanted to make my own way. And I remember having conversations with Kia saying, we're going into a technological age. People they're not going to always want teddy bears. What is the sustainability of that? And that was just so far from what I've learned and experienced over the last 15 years of making that comment. And then I've been here about 8-9 years now full time, and just what I've learned. And if anything, with technology being so prominent and screens being so prominent, something like what we do and offer, I feel is so much more important because it gets kids out from in front of screens, and it gets them being present with their parents, which is great for the family unit. Gets them working with their hands, which is great from a sensory perspective. But it's just how many times we talk about all the time, kids just don't climb trees anymore and fall off and get scrapes and bruises. And up here in Michigan, ticks is such a hot topic this summer, and be careful of running outside because you could get a tick and you could get Lyme disease. And there's just always all these fears now, and what happened to the good old days of just running through the woods. And I almost chopped my finger off when I was younger trying to nail toilet paper over my fort with an axe, which was the dumbest thing ever. But
what were you trying to accomplish there?
I don't know. I'm this needs to stick into the tree. Let me take this axe and wedge it in there and chop off my finger at the same time. And then I told my dad that I hit on a thorn. But not to say we want our kids running around.
Sure you did.
Yeah.
Why is the axe sitting there?
Yeah, bloodied, that rusty axe. But not saying we want our kids running around with axes, but we want our kids outside doing things. And when it comes to experiences, I'm a millennial, we're the experiential generation. We have families, and we want adult entertainment. I think is making up for 30% of toy spending right now. Because now us millennials have adult money, and that baseball card or that Magic the Gathering card or Pokemon card or that toy that we couldn't maybe our parents maybe couldn't afford when we were younger, we can afford it now. So Kia's going through this right now where she combed through eBay and found an old Barbie RV that was in its original packaging because she's like, this is what I had when I was younger and I want this for Araya. So that's the same thing with here is kids have grown up doing, make-a-plush when they were younger, and they want to experience that with their families. But that's what came to mind was how uninformed I was in my early 20s as far as the need for hands-on activities like this.
Yeah, I think going back, back to 2020, I think one thing that period of time taught me was there's no amount of technology that's ever going to replace even what we're doing right now, and you can only live with it for so long. And for most people it was about a week where they were all right, being at home's fine, but we need to go do something else. And that is, I think, what is going to drive more business and is this relationship and experiential retail, because that's what people need. They need people, and they need those types of experience and outlets to go and do those things. So the Bear Factory is very much built around that type of thing. And more than that, I see how much you're innovating through that, and making that experience even tighter. So Mike, for you, when being here almost 2 years, where is that for you?
It's the whole interactive experience, right? You're, if you're doing a machine or stuffing, it's the person running the show, right? That they have to be incorporated into the what they're doing, and the stuff-a-plush or the hand stuffing, and with the kids, and making it fun, because that's going to be a life-lasting memory, and then you take something home, again, like if you're at a resort and doing, you stuff-a-plush 1 year and you go back to the same resort, you can bring your plushie back in and maybe buy another piece of clothing. So it's, they're going to have it as a lifetime, just like you said with the RV and Kia, like it's going to make a memory for the rest of your life.
Well, it's not a volume-based
Right.
experience.
Right.
Yeah, and I would even argue too, like Mike's super modest, and like he had a really successful frozen yogurt business, but like standalone store, but then also did a mobile trailer. And I remember when I hadn't even known Mike yet, Key and I found out about it, and we went in there like, oh my gosh, we can do our own toppings. Like the simple application of being able to go there and like put as much cookie dough on that, or put as much whatever, and I can do it do the froyo myself. Like that's interactive.
Yeah.
And that for me, like that was way more fun than walking up to Dairy Queen and just saying like, yeah, I'll get the chocolate with sprinkles. Like I want to put on the sprinkles.
Yeah.
It's too many sprinkles.
It was a lot of mess.
So going back to Mike's point, looking at the industry, like it's shifting away from volume, because to your point, do you want something where there's an experience tied to it, or the frozen yogurt where there's actually something that you're doing? Or do you want just a mill type of teddy bear that comes from Amazon? Like, what are kids going to remember? And they're going to remember going, stuffing, finishing, dressing, all that stuff that goes along with it, which is going to create much more of a lasting memory and thing. And I think with people being a lot more price conscious with consumer spending, parents are going to want that as well, because they're going to get the most bang for their buck.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would almost classify us as a bit recession-proof with regards to when the pocketbook feels tight and you still want to go and go into an attraction and have an experience. I'm going to be way more conscious about, those impulse buys, grab and go off the shelf type of purchases, where if I could have, I could grab this necklace over here for Araya, or I could go over here and make the necklace myself with her, and at least, it's a differential between the two, but I'm going to feel like I'm getting a bit more if I'm actually can take 5-10 minutes with my daughter to like, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And that kind of experience like imprints, a bit more. And you can talk about like, hey, Ray, remember when you picked out this part of the necklace? And we did this when we were at Disney earlier this year, after we in Avatar in Pandora. At Animal Kingdom, and we were walking around and she made this necklace, and then we were back at the hotel and she's like, I'm so happy that I made this necklace. And then when we got home, it's like, Ami, Papa, look at this necklace I made. And like that's awesome to see, like she remembers it. And then it's those type of experiences that, at least me experiencing it as a dad, like she'll bring it up 6 months later, like, hey Dad, remember when I made that necklace at Disney? Because she can't really say Disney. And it's like, yeah, I do. And so it's like, that's what we want to accomplish, and that's where I think we're a bit recession-proof, where people feel like they're getting that more bang for their buck, because not only are they still walking away with something, they have that imprinted experience as part of it too.
Yeah, and it's, going back to the word, it's unique. Do you want a volume of packages showing up from Amazon where it's going to get forgotten about in, days, if not minutes, or something where you can point to and say, yeah, this is special. It's different. It means a lot more.
I guess the big next question we get is, how do I deploy? How do I make that environment and that experience? And that's something I definitely wanted to touch on with this episode, because that's what we get all the time is, once people have decided, is it hand stuffing, is it machine stuffing? All right, what do I do next? And the thing is you need to create that bubble, that experience, that sphere, that miniature experience within an experience of a make-a-plush. And I think leaning over to Mike and letting him kind of talk a little bit on what we recently did. That was just last year, yeah, in the spring when we deployed like the Memphis Zoo, and just kind of like what that process looks like, because there's this beautiful setup that we have now, but there's a lot that went into that.
Yeah. So yeah, this is my favorite part of my job when I get to do these type of things, besides customer service. And so we went down to Memphis Zoo, and they were kind of hesitant on to what they needed to do. We took this old, they kind of had this old, what was it, the panda?
It was like, yeah, the old Oriental retail shop where they used to have pandas before they all went back to China.
They didn't get much foot traffic back there, and so I went down there and just kind of walked the space with them, showed them some other designs that we have done, and created this awesome space for them. And you really couldn't see it. I mean, they saw it on paper, but it took, a few weeks to come back with our fab team, do the drawings, and took all the measurements, and then put it on actually paper where they could see the whole footprint. And they were him and hawing back and forth, like, should we do this? It's a lot of dollar bills. And we actually throw money at a development and a build out like this to help them get started. And it's a 5-year partnership, but just to see a space come from, they had slat wall, and it was all designed the same, like the same colors and whatnot, but like they have some goggles here and a yo-yo here, and just they're trying to fill the walls, right, with tchotchkes, if you will. So I helped them design the space, and we went back and forth a few times, and just seeing that come to fruition, and then the wow factor of once it's done, and what we did with the columns and the art, and use their whole kind of setup. We had to finagle a few things and then add like our cubby systems, and they're just thrilled to how it turned out and what they're doing in numbers. We basically turned a vacant space into the most performing ROI per square foot, right, in the whole zoo. So and everybody's happy, and then I get to go down and handshake, and when it was all set up, go down and critique everything, make sure everything's perfect, and then go help the whole staff. I train them on the the equipment, and then show them how we like it merchandised. So that's I love doing that. It's a lot of fun, and because I just like the whole taking nothing and building it into something, and then watching all the smiles, and everybody's like, wow.
So since the setup, how's it been going in Memphis?
Phenomenal. Yeah, we can't. They can't speak more about us. They've done, reels about us, and just the whole setup, and they're thrilled.
It's helping them obtain, hit those retail revenue goals that they want. And the great thing is that, and it's taken 5-6 years to develop, but we have that super high level capability of going and doing like a really clean, polished build out similar to like what we're sitting in here. But then we've even started this year to deploy down, and we can do a lot smaller setups, for under $8,000-$10,000, with the different types of fixturing that we have now that's super cost effective to enter into for somebody. And you still get the great elements, and deciding what your canvas is like the first step of creating an environment. Like, is it a 10 by 10? Is it a 12 by 14? Is it a single 18-foot wall? Like, what is your canvas? And then once we kind of know what that is, working with customers to be able to prescribe something for them. Like, we'll look at how many SKUs, based off of their square footage that they have. This is the amount of SKUs that we would recommend that you carry for plush. Of that, this amount is your standard line. This is your seasonal line. This is your new rotational line. And then you have like your clothing. What's your clothing mix compared to your plush? So we can sit down and really like go through and get down to the nuts and bolts of having like a successful setup. And the great thing is there's all levels of investment, like on the low end up to the high end, to still be able to like accomplish this. But what Mike experiences too a lot is, our aesthetic is a bit like modern, eco-friendly. Well, you'll have particular properties that don't have that kind of aesthetic. So then, Michael is great with working with them as far as saying like, hey, this is what our cubbies look like. Like if you want to go and rebuild them and you have the ability to do it and you can make it look to your aesthetic, go at it. Like when we do retail build outs, we don't do them to like sweeten our bottom line. It's really more, this is what our design and IP that we've invested in, work directly with our fab company, and let's just get you guys a setup, because we know that if you have a great setup, you're going to move product. That's when we're successful. That's when you're successful. So when we get a customer who has a budget to be able to invest, regardless of that size budget, it's always fun to be able to bring to life, what we can create in that particular space.
So on the front to back of the experience, just take a typical, let's go to Memphis for a minute. So someone comes in through the zoo, they go into that ecosystem, they're able to fill a plushie, they're able to dress it. And then one of the new things we talked about the last time I was here was the spritz that you can put, is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, Snuggle Spritz. Yeah, you're kind of touching on like, what is the ritual?
Yeah.
And whether it's like hand stuffing or machine stuffing, like in the environment, what's the ritual that you're trying to create? And it's, the pick me, like pick your buddy, fill your buddy, accessorize your buddy, name your buddy. We have like a cool bear builder's oath that we rolled out last year that people can buy and put on their wall, that kids go ahead and like make this cute little oath to their buddy that they just made. And then you'll see behind me, we just deployed an essential oil, we call it Snuggle Spritz, line that you can go ahead and at the end of filling your plushie, making that wishing star or paw print that you put inside, closing it, and then we have 5 different scents right now, but from like lavender to peppermint, vanilla, like just cool different fun scents that you can spritz onto it, and just kind of like bring in like an additional sensory component of that ritual that you're building. And like we offer those, like they're not meant to be like sold to mom and consumer. It's more to just like edify that experience that you're building.
Yeah. We doing a bourbon barrel scent coming soon? What are we doing here?
That's in my office.
Very good, yeah.
A bourbon tobacco scent.
Yeah. Coming Christmas 2026.
Yeah.
No, that's great. I think, to your point, like that whole ritual and having things that people can do, they don't have to do it all, but they can. And it's, it's a part of that experience, and that's what you guys are, setting up and engineering for people when you're, deploying your resources into their business.
Yeah, and I think looking at too, like when you're doing that experience, you can always, it can be a 5-minute experience or it can be a 30-minute experience. So like it really depends on what your goals are. Like what do you want your customer experience to be? What is that time allotment? What does your, labor availability look like to service that? Because it can be like, I don't like the mill setup where people kind of come through and you just stuff it. I mean, these things are powerful. You can stuff a plush in 10 seconds kind of thing, but is that like really what you want? Like, wouldn't you rather, let a kid help you stuff it and feel it and like, hey,
It's all about the operator.
Yeah, it's about that showmanship and that environment that you're creating, and hey, this guy looks really hungry. Do you want to help fill him up? It looks like he missed breakfast. And go ahead and putting them on there, like, oh, how's that arm feel? Oh, it feels good. And so just like trying to have a conversation too. And I'll definitely say, like, since having Araya, I'm way better at talking with kids, because before, when I was like in my like early 30s, late 20s, like I kind of had to.
You were in the mill.
Yeah, like I was trying to like not be the mill, but like didn't really know how to talk with kids. But just having a conversation and making them involved, that's everything. That's everything to that child. That's everything to those parents. And it's really fun to see parents get super involved in it too. Like when we do the mulching, like we see this a lot at trade shows where people are like, oh, it's just teddy bears. And then we'll start using our mulching system and shooting fiber
Then
into
there's
it.
people around the trade show booth like,
yeah, and
what's that?
like dads and guys are just like, what is going on over there? And like there's a fiber cannon going on. So like getting everybody involved is super fun, and that's where it just becomes like a really good time, is if you do take the time and attention to detail and care to create that experience. It's going to be fun for your customer, but then it's also going to be super fun for you or super fun for your employees. as well.
And the whole education piece behind our plush and
Yeah.
what we do, you know, the sustainability, and that's another avenue that is incorporated into our setups, you know, the education station, if you will. So that's another, you know, you can take your time with the teaching the children or whoever's buying the plush about where it comes from and how it's made and the sustainability of it.
Yeah, I think it's a unique opportunity, and thanks for bringing that up because I totally would have spaced out on that. Having their family's captivated attention span for the duration of your experience, there's that really unique opportunity to educate them on something. So like talking about the sustainability of the fabrics, or talking about like land stewardship or animal conservation. There's a lot of ways you can go about it, but taking that moment just to make note about how we can protect our planet and like what kids can do, you know, they might not hear all of it, but what they may hear is, hey, my teddy bear that I just made has recycled materials, and it could be at that, and that could carry with them as they hold on to that bear for the next 10 plus years, and could just be like a seed that eventually takes fruit and grows into something. And that's something being like a care and compassion for like our green spaces and our planet.
All right, so for this episode's, featured plushie, I'll hand this guy over to you, which is a hybrid of a chicken and a T-Rex.
Yeah, Araya and I, Netflix recently pushed out a like rise and fall of the dinosaurs, like 3-episode series. So this is actually a Yutyrannus, and it is like predates T-Rex. But essentially this guy used to be around when it was like super cold Arctic kind of temperatures. And this was like kind of the closest thing I could get from a fabric that's supposed to replicate like feathers. But imagine like a giant T-Rex with feathers. So chasing after you at like 30, 35 feet tall. But like you said, like a giant chicken with sharp teeth coming at you. I thought it was like super cool, because I know we've kind of been, there's been like more information coming out about like, hey, did like more dinosaurs like actually have feathers than we thought, rather than being like what we've seen in Jurassic Park and things. And I was at an exhibit at the Michigan Science Center in Detroit, and they had this velociraptor with feathers, and this thing was horrifying. Like, I'm like, I can only imagine the smell on this thing, and like, he probably stood about like 5.5 feet tall, but just like adding those feathers to it just made it look like this absolutely terrifying of a nightmare kind of dinosaur. So this is like the kid-friendly interpretation of that.
I love it. It's like a T-Rex with a sweater.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of Positive Impact. We certainly appreciate you watching. If you want to learn more about the Bear Factory, you can check out the show notes for more information. Apart from that, we'll see you next time with a new episode. Take care.